Hi, my name is John, and today I'll be going through why the New South Wales selective exam is actually getting harder every single year. Let's get into it. As most of you might already know, the New South Wales selective and opportunity class exam is one of the focus areas of what we do here at Beans Academy. Not the only thing we work on, but it's definitely one of the pillars, just because my team and I have so much experience teaching students in knowing exactly what they need to do, as well as coaching parents on how to maximize their chances. In saying that though, a lot of these students and a lot of these parents are going for the opportunity class and for the selective school because there's three distinct advantages if you do manage to attend. Number one is obviously academics, and most people already know this. So when you are studying at a faster and more accelerated rate compared to a normal public school or non-selective high school, basically the benefits here is that if you're working on harder content, then when it becomes crunch time or when the exam comes around and you're versing against them, who do you think will normally perform better? The students who are working on the harder content or the students who are working on the easier content? It's a bit of a no-brainer. The harder content will always win out. The second benefit is definitely the networks. I mentioned this previously in another video as well, but I attended Penrith High School and then I transferred into Girrawheen High School. I don't know anyone in my entire grade who did not even go to university. Everyone in my entire grade went to university, while if I look back into primary school, which wasn't an opportunity class, it was just a normal primary school. When they grew up and when they graduated year 12, or they didn't even graduate year 12, they didn't have university as the top of mind option. Instead, they just went into the workforce. They might go to TAFE, they might go to acting or drama classes, and there's nothing wrong against that. But when everyone that you're surrounded with is going to university, that means you are all united and pushed by a goal. While if everyone that they're hanging around with is not too sure what they want to do, they're not planning to go to university, not planning on getting academically better, then chances are that's going to also rub off on you as well. And the final thing I would definitely want to point out is in regards to the HSC exam. So in year 12, if you want to get into university, if you want to be a doctor, an engineer, a business person, you have to do the HSC exam. And depending on your scores across all the subjects you choose, you'll be allocated a rank. And that will determine how good you are compared to everyone else in the entire state. So the higher the rank you are, the better you are. So that means the more options you can choose. So when the school that you go to, if it's a more highly ranked school or it's a selective high school, for instance, the students there are more academically gifted, making it so that they typically make an internal school mark, which is half the HSC mark, much higher compared to if you did not attend a selective high school. So the benefits are quite clear. But let's quickly take a step back to the title of this video. Why is the selective exam getting harder every single year? And I'm not talking about the format, because with the new format by Cambridge Assessment, that is clearly more difficult compared to previous years when it was not created by them, namely because of the variety of questions and topics that they can assess compared to previous years. But what I am talking about is beyond the format and the assessments, just because if everyone's doing the same type of questions, then we're on a exactly even playing field. What makes it difficult every single year is the number of applicants that are applying for these schools is increasing at a fast rate every year, making it more competitive for students who have to complete this exam. Although with everything, let's look at the data to see if that supports my claim. In 2019, there were 4,501 applicants. In 2020, there were 15,079 applicants and 4,226 vacancies. And lastly, for the students who did this new exam this year, there were 15,355 applicants with 4,226 vacancies. So the vacancies did not change from this year and last year and the year before. This means in just 2 years, the number of applicants increased by 854 applicants, and on average, every single year, it's increasing by an additional 400 more applicants a year doing the selective exam compared to the year before. Obviously, this is only an insight from the last 3 years. I would have liked to do this across the last 5, 10, 15 years. However, that information is not publicly available, so it's just an insight from what's happening recently. What this means is it can increase even at a bigger rate. So next year, it could be an increase of more than 400 students, or it can be less. But this is just what I've kind of noticed. And it's a trend that I think is just going to grow as more students find out about this exam, making it more difficult for students doing it later on. What makes it a worrying problem is that when you combine more applicants, but the number of vacancies available in terms of the schools that actually accept positions for the selective stream in their respective schools stays the same, then that's going to be an issue, because then more people are fighting for those individual spots, making it more important for students to be more tactical and smart in terms of the preparation and the schools that they're actually going for. Do I actually think that every year it will increase by 400 or perhaps more? No, I do not think this. However, I think it will be relatively close to this, and naturally more students are going to be applying because more parents are going to be more knowledgeable about the process, especially with COVID-19 and everyone doing homeschooling or for a portion or even all of it across these last 2 years. Parents have taken a bigger role in their child's education, and as a result, they've done a lot more research. So when parents are speaking to other parents and parents are looking for ways to improve their child's well-being and education in the future, naturally they will opt into going for the OC and selective class because of the 3 advantages that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. If you are part of the minority who does not think that this is a big problem, or you think that 400 students is not many at all, let me try to put things into context for you. Let's use Penrith High School as an example, as I used to attend there when I was in year 7 to 10 here in New South Wales. They might only accept 120 new students a year based on a new year 7 cohort. That means if there's an additional 400 students on top of the number that's typically applying every single year, that means 3.5 grades on top of what a fully selective high school can actually take in is actually applying, making it so that it's more competitive and it decreases your odds if you are trying to go for the same schools as them as well. I'm not saying that those 400 students are applying for the same schools that you are, because realistically speaking, there are not. Since there are 17 fully selective high school, that means your odds are dramatically decreased and it's a lot more competitive. When we try to add partially selective high schools, they don't even take in 120 students because half of their stream, or a bit more than half the stream, are actually students who are not part of the selective portion. They're from just the local area. I also wanted to analyze the data to see if there was a similar trend for the opportunity class for students in year 4 who are looking to join an opportunity class in years 5 and 6 here in New South Wales as well. Unfortunately, due to the information that's accessible online, they only had the number of students that applied last year and not any of the years before, so I cannot see if there is a trend. However, I have a feeling that there is a similar trend. There isn't an increase of 400 every year, but I believe there is a similar trend due to the reasons that I mentioned above as well, because more students are finding out about the benefits of selective, so naturally more students will be going for the opportunity class as well. With the data that we have available in 2020, we can see that there's already fewer vacancies available, and we know, not necessarily based on the test, that it's more difficult than the selective, because it's a year 6 and year 4 test and it's very hard to differentiate the difficulty of questions there. However, due to the number of spots available in opportunity class, we can see that OC is a lot more competitive compared to selective. There were 12,344 applicants with 1,740 vacancies. So yes, there's fewer applicants compared to who are going for the selective school. However, there's less than half the vacancies available, making it so that it's a lot more competitive in the first place. So now that we know this information, what can we actually do about this? what are the tangible advices that I would recommend so that if you are doing the exam, how can you best prepare your child for success? So what I would recommend is for the New South Wales Selective Exam, it would really depend on the time frame. So if you only have a year or less than a year to that exam, you don't really have much time to prepare. Knowing that it will be more competitive and there will be potentially 400 additional applicants who are going to be undertaking that exam compared to the year before, won't really change anything because it's not going to make a bit of a difference with the time that you have available. However, if you are in year 3, if you are in year 4, and you still have a couple of years until that exam, then you can kind of think. So you know that by the time you do the exam, there are going to be 1,200 more applicants, 1,600 more applicants if we follow the same trajectory. It's not going to be the same amount, but that's something that you can kind of guesstimate for the future. We can use that information to benefit you, so you know that if you have more time available, you can refine the way that you're learning information. Perhaps you can find the right tutor who can assist you in reaching your educational goals. Number 3 is maybe the material that you have available. Is it outdated? Is it up to date? I don't know. You should try to see how can you maximize the time that you typically spend on revising and learning new information, preparing for the selective exam in advance, and how you can get a leg up compared to other students who are potentially doing something quite similar to you. If you have the same hours in the day, access to the same material, what is the differentiating factor that you can get above them? And I think for me personally, it's to do with planning. Can your tutor help you plan more? Can your parents help you plan more? Can you put in a bit more work compared to other students? So if they are studying for 1 hour, can you do an hour and a half? What can make the difference in the long run? We don't know. But a little bit every day makes a big difference in the long term, and that's for everything. In conclusion, I believe there is a clear trend in the number of students that are going for the New South Wales Selective Exam, and it is going higher every year. I'm going to make a mental note to the number of students that are actually applying for both the opportunity class and the selective exam to see if my hypothesis stays true in the future as well. I'm also going to ask you guys to like this video if you really did enjoy this type of information. Comment down below if you had any thoughts in regards to it, or if you just want to say thank you. It actually warms my heart and it makes me keep on going, I suppose. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.